Have you ever tried playing a tabletop RPG that wasn't D&D? With all this controversy surrounding Wizards of the Coast, there are a lot of players jumping ship, and there are a wide selection of games to choose from to go to. In my opinion, there is just one that stands out above the rest, and that is SWRPG. So, let me tell you why you should give it a shot. Welcome to the Tabletop Empire, my name is Nate, and today I'm going to give you a brief overview of this system, as well as 5 reasons why I think that SWRPG is the GOAT. And to be fair to the system, I'm going to give you guys 2 downsides. Sound good? Okay. Let's get started. Fantasy Flight / Edge Studios' SWRPG is a narrative-based tabletop role-playing game, and as you can expect, it's set in the Star Wars universe. The game has 3 core rulebooks, but don't worry, you only need to have 1. The rules-wise for all 3 of them are pretty much identical, and the only difference is what the focus of each book is. First, there's Edge of the Empire, which is going to be your scum and villainy, bounty hunters, smugglers, underworld and civilians kind of focus. And then we have Age of Rebellion, which is for your rebels versus the Empire type of campaigns. And last but not least, we have Force and Destiny, which is for your Jedi and Sith focus. And the book's focus is what's going to determine what classes, subclasses, gear, and ship, and whatnot you can find inside the book, but rules-wise, they're near identical. Each core rulebook also comes with a pre-made adventure to help you get started in the game. And this system also has other source books if you maybe want more info on specific classes, eras in time, sectors in space like Hut Space, or even pre-made adventures. There are also beginner's kits that come with dice, learn as you go adventure, as well as character folios, as well as a GM kit that comes with a GM screen and a follow-up adventure to the rulebook. I will be reviewing the GM kit in like 3 weeks, so if you're interested in seeing that, consider subscribing. Okay, so onto the 5 reasons why I think that this system is better than any other tabletop role-playing system. The first reason why I think this game is the greatest and you need to try it is the narrative dice. If you see this weird handful of dice with a bunch of weird symbols and stuff, please do not let it turn you off of this game. These things are fantastic. So the dice have symbols that pretty much boil down to success and failure, and then advantage and threat, or disadvantage. And these symbols will cancel each other out and you'll be left over with something like 2 success and 1 threat, or 3 failure and 1 advantage. And the beauty of these dice is that it really just opens up the interpretation of your skill checks. In D&D, you just roll a single d20 against a hidden number that the GM thinks of in their head, and if you pass the roll, then you succeed. If you roll way above the number that the GM set, then maybe you succeed more exponentially. Or if you roll a nat 1, then maybe, you know, something really bad happens, you really failed that roll. In SWRPG, not only can you have varied success depending on if you rolled 1 success versus 3 success, but you can also have the advantage and disadvantage symbols take a part into your interpretation of the dice, and those are completely separate from failures and success. Narrative dice lead to more interesting dice roll, and plus, rolling a handful of dice is just way more fun. Another perk of these dice is that the players get to see what they're rolling against. Like I said before, in D&D, the DM just has a number in their head that the players are rolling against. Well, in SWRPG, they get to roll their difficulty dice alongside of their ability dice. So they see, okay, I'm rolling against 3 purple dice, that's, you know, it's a hard check. And finally, the players get to have more of a voice in how their rolls are interpreted. So players get to determine what their advantage that they roll are used for. And overall, this just gives more power to the players. I do have a full deep dive guide to the dice, so if you're interested in learning more about them, go check that out. I'll put a card up in the corner and a link in the description below. The second reason I think you should try this game is for what's called Destiny Points, or Destiny Tokens. These are tokens that the GM and PCs can use to add some extra flavor to the story. And the really cool part of them is that it gives more agency to the players to make bigger decisions in the story and in the world, and give them kind of like fun-sized GM powers. So the players can spend the light side tokens to add elements into the world, or maybe change the difficulty of their dice rolls, and then the GM can use them to make maybe things harder or add extra surprise elements into the story and create suspense for the players. And the table can get really, really creative with how to use these Destiny tokens. The party and the GM can decide what level of power to give these tokens, but even with just what the core rulebook says, it still gives a lot back to the player, which is, again, something I really like. I also have a full guide to this, again, description, card. Yeah, let's move on. Point number 3. I love combat in this game relating to the player characters. In D&D, combat can be really, really hard if you don't focus on that aspect of your character, and it's a pretty core part of the system. Like, you can't really play D&D without combat, right? So in Star Wars RPG, you can still have a combat-focused character and really do well in combat. But for those other characters who maybe want to focus on more of their social skills, they can still hold their own in combat just fine without spending all of their XP focusing into it. And it just kind of feels more inclusive to that kind of player. But also in Star Wars RPG, you can actually play a character that has next to no combat ability whatsoever. So like a politician or a doctor. And you can even have campaigns that like completely focus around those kinds of classes and don't have combat at all. You don't need to have combat in Star Wars RPG if you don't want to. But even in those cases of the player, having no combat focus whatsoever, they can still grab a pistol and do something and be helpful. Star Wars RPG is not focused around dungeons or fighting, and you don't necessarily get anything out of dungeons or fighting, so it really just opens up the story and what the story can be. And that really just helps it not feel like a GM versus the PC experience, like I have experienced a couple times with D&D. The fourth reason I like this game is the content for it. There is a lot of content for this game. And while the core rulebook may be a little bit more expensive, sitting at the moment, $65 US, it has everything you need in it. It is the player guide, the GM guide, the monster manual, a pre-made adventure. It's everything that you need to start playing. You only need one book to start. And sure, eventually if you really come to love this game, then you'll probably want to own all three because you can mix and match the books or have different campaigns with different focuses, but that's not required. And like I said before, there are so many source books with so much cool content in them. For example, some of the ones that excite me, I have my eyes on buying. There's these Clone Wars era source books for the start and the end of the Clone Wars, as well as there's a pre-made adventure I just got called The Jewel of Yavin, which think of like Ocean's 11 meets Star Wars, and I'm really excited to run that in a few weeks. And I'll probably also do a review video of that whenever I actually get through that adventure and make a review on it. And the final reason that this is my favorite system for tabletop role-playing is that it's Star Wars. Not only is it a universe that I can easily visualize due to different games and movies and shows and all that fun stuff, but it's also a universe that I love, and I get to be a part of it with this system. If you are a Star Wars fan, this system is for you. Now there are two downsides to this system, so here they are. The first is that it's Star Wars. If you don't like Star Wars, then this system's probably not for you. If you don't have any friends who like Star Wars, it can be kinda hard to get them into the system because they will feel intimidated that they maybe don't know enough about the Star Wars universe. But thankfully, Star Wars is a major IP that most people are pretty familiar with, so this shouldn't be too big of an issue. Hey guys, Future Nate here. One small little note that I forgot to mention in the main video is that even if you don't like Star Wars, but you like the idea of the narrative dice and the Destiny tokens, check out SWRPG. This thing is fantastic. There are 5 settings in here that you can play with. There's like fantasy, weird war, sci-fi, etc. But it's an any setting RPG. I just ran a one-shot a few weeks ago that was like an Alien on Mars, Nemesis Lockdown, like horror suspense style one-shot using this system, and it was really fun. So check it out if interested. Okay, back to the other video. And the other downside to this system is that the game, I think last year or the year before, went through a different company merger kind of situation. So Fantasy Flight got bought out by Asmodee, and then Asmodee shifted all of the Star Wars RPG content from Fantasy Flight games over to Edge Studios, and due to licensing issues with Lucasfilm, they had to renew their license, which caused a stop in the publishing for a little bit. So right now the books can actually be kind of hard to find. As of this video, February 2023, the books are actually starting to come back in stock again, and you're actually able to start finding them. However, the dice are still not available. They should be coming soon from all the rumors I hear, but I still don't know when that is. But hopefully if you're watching this a few months from now, that's not going to be an issue. So keep this in mind when you're trying to start the game. I will say though that there is a phone app for the dice, and so that can be a good placeholder while you wait for them to come back in stock. So, what do you think about Star Wars RPG from everything that I've said? Are you willing to give it a shot? If so, I need you to take these couple steps. The first step is checking out this channel's Beginner's Guide series, where I go through the entire core rulebook from start to finish, and I break down all the core concepts so that new players like yourself have an easier time learning the game. Step 2, subscribe to the channel for weekly Star Wars RPG content. Step 3, join our Discord, link down below, to get involved and connected with other Star Wars RPG community members. And then step 4 is blast that like button and comment down below and let me know if I've convinced you to give this system a shot. If you are already a fan of this system or a subscriber to this channel, then drop why you love this system down in the comments. And if you're from D&D or just now hearing about it, go read what they have to say as well. Trust me, this is a fantastic system. You gotta try it. And then a massive, huge thanks to the Patreon subscribers. You guys are so appreciated and are really helping support and fund the foundations of this channel as we continue to grow. Thanks to everybody for watching. I will see you guys in the next one, but until then, and as always, may the Force be with you.